Hello and welcome to episode 63 of the VGC Trainer School podcast, where we focus on the competitive side of Pokemon. Whether you're a ladder scholar or a newcomer to VGC, will help you learn. Class is in session. I'm joined today by four lovely gentlemen here. Would you guys like to introduce yourselves? Starting with we'll start with AOX, my master tournament organizer.
It's been a while, but glad to be back and actually glad to be finally recording this episode. It's been a long time coming after having to reorganize everything, but I'm glad to be back.
Yeah, it was tough. I think we had to deal with, well, there was the birth of a child, which is a beautiful thing, and that was completely understandable. Then two hurricanes, and then me just having work. But here
Peak
we are.
America moment. I didn't have a clue of things over here, so peak America moment. I'm glad I don't have to deal with anything like that.
Yeah, I got lucky on the West Coast, but I know it was tough.
Worst that we get here is some rain, and that usually happens pretty much every day. So it is what it is.
But yes, how are you doing, Sir Smoke?
Yeah, I'm Sir Smoke. I'm the host of Spear Pillar. You might have played in a Limitless tour or two of ours. And if not, we hope to see you on Saturdays. We host them every week at 11 a.m. Eastern. And also, you may have heard of our Region Rumble event. That's a global event where we pair six of the world regions against each other, to see who's the best in the world. This year we had North America win. I guess we'll see what happens in 2025.
Yeah, America. Just kidding, AOX.
And then I'm your
Such
second
global
hurricane
noises.
survivor. And
How's
I'm
it
over
going?
here running the Chaos League. LoOtVGC would be the name. And our Sunday slams seem to be our game. The Hurricanes sucked, and we finally got power back over here, but we're alive and well. Florida seems to be the the spot this time of year for this kind of shit.
The hot spot.
Yeah.
And presenting Men's Health in VGC, Mr. Roy.
Yeah, I go by Roy Flash Gordon, host of the PokéMen's Health podcast. And here, it's so good to be here with you guys. Someone mentioned this being one of the first Pokemon podcasts they were listening to. I would say the same. Been really cool to just kind of get integrated in the tournament organization community. And Kaysie Loot of Chaos League is really who kind of looped me into this. And we've been doing a monthly for the last couple months. And our next one next week, Fight for Men's Health, which is just an opportunity to bring the community together with us also chirping on a theme just around men's health, which is an important topic, which we are going to, chat a little bit about today. Really excited for that. But our next one's next week. Theme of fatherhood, kind of honoring our boy Kaysie and his new fatherhood journey, and something that we've all been touched by, in our lives. We all have one, you know what I mean? And with different relationship with one. And with kind of the mission of PokéMen's Health is to kind of bring these men's issues to the forefront so that we can all learn how to just kind of feel better, do better in the world, and be better people for each other and everyone in the world. So really happy to loop that in with Pokemon. We're really grateful for Kaysie getting me connected with all of you fine gentlemen, and thank you guys for welcoming me in to the tournament organization community, and just happy to be here and keep learning about all facets of this game.
Yeah, I love that. I love you bringing attention to that. What sort of inspired you to begin doing that?
Well, I've always done this kind of always, not always. About 4 years ago, I started my own mental health journey, and it happened a little bit in therapy, but a lot in men's groups where I could go and share and know I would not be judged. Learn tools about expressing myself and my feelings, and learn how to have difficult conversations with important people in my life, like my mother and father, for example, that really helped me change my life. And it helps with hitting goals and stuff. We all want to do that, but I think the relationships we have is really the most important stuff. And a lot of us, didn't have the most ideal relationships. So I did that work for myself. I see the need for other men specifically to do that in the world, because we've always, generally a lot of us, especially in the US, I'd say pretty heavily, but all around the world, we are not taught to, you know, relate to each other in healthy ways necessarily, or be empathic of what's another person's going through, or even talk about our own feelings. And I think that we've seen just a lot of people going through hell because of it. And I love the gaming communities in general. Pokemon's been my shit since I was a little kid, and just knowing that a lot of gamers turn to gaming to get, for community a lot of times, but also just to have a place to escape to. And it's great to have it like that, but it's also great to address what you have going on at the root cause. You know what I mean? So just to say, hey guys, we're doing this game. We're whatever reasons we're playing this game. I know that a lot of us might have some other stuff going on that it'd be cool to connect with each other about while we enjoy this game. So it was kind of started there.
I love that.
Yeah, the UK is very much the same in terms of that, and I'd be willing to bet that most countries are the same when it comes to men's physical and mental health. So it's obviously fantastic that you're bringing a highlight to that, definitely.
Absolutely. And you mentioned the physical piece of it as well. And I think that well, shit. Again, gaming community, right? It's a lot of there's always the invitation to go outside and touch grass, right? I think it's also an invitation to get up and go move your damn body, because like yeah, if you got a bunch of pent up whatever and it's just sitting there, like, yeah, you can get out a lot by, enjoying your hobbies and stuff. But I think number one thing you can do is go on a damn walk, or go lift some damn weights, and you get better at those things. Maybe go for a damn run, the physical aspect. I think there's a lot of guys that have it. I think in gaming communities, there's maybe a bit of a disconnect. I feel like I see this like improved, like it has improved like a ton, and people are just more knowledgeable about fitness like in general. But a lot of my friends who grew up as gamers grew up a bit on the nerdier side. They didn't do the sports and whatnot. So there is like something I'd love to bring everybody's attention. It's like, you can start whenever you want. You don't have to be good at this stuff already to take care of your body, take care of your health. And like, there are tremendous mental health benefits from moving your body as well. So definitely a piece to shout out, but also like, you can't out work out your mental health stuff. So to put it together is a piece that's really important to me.
Love that. Thank you so much for that. We're going to delve back into that shortly. Just to go over what we're doing today, we're just going to really talk about the men's health, then just kind of talk about how we're feeling with Reg H, where it's at, maybe discuss the Lille Regional briefly, and maybe some other of the recent ones. We've had a few since our last episode, like Baltimore, Louisville, etc. And yeah, that's what we're doing today. And for the news, there's like some raids going on. Got the Cerule Edge, Arm Rouge, Ice Cube, Stonejourner, Raremon raids going on right now, so get at those while they're hot. And there's these like leaks that just happened about Gen 10 stuff, a lot of beta sprites, which is kind of fun if you're following along, but also not really important to VGC at all, because
I've just been
past.
following the memes on that, because the memes
Yeah.
have been kind of going crazy without even fully understanding it. The memes have just been going crazy on that, to be honest.
Right. That's what it's really
Your
about.
boy
We're here for the
Typhlosion's
memes.
catching a bunch of hate.
Which one?
Your boy Typhlosion's catching a bunch of hate.
Dude, I know. I was like,
And definitely not beating the allegations now.
right. As like a metal fan, like I'm used to like bands getting canceled, but I was not prepared for my favorite Pokemon getting canceled. But everybody who really knows like the Pokemon lore, who was already invested anyways, knows that like this is like myths based on like old like Japanese like yokai myths. They just were doing like a writing practice or study, replacing those with Pokemon. Typhlosion is apparently based on a shape-shifting badger yokai. So I mean, that's most Pokemon are not based on happy myths, and most myths are not necessarily a good old time. Like, a lot of us are more familiar with Greek mythology, and there's a whole lot of the gods coming down on like
People really need to read more about some of the bios on the ghost types because some of them are
right,
horrific, honestly.
right. We already know that like Gengar like takes you away or something like that in his shadow, and Drifloon floats away the children. Of course, it's not on the same level of like this Typhlosion allegations, granted, but these it wasn't canon, and also everybody's like, oh, well, they made and then they had a Pokemon human hybrid. If you want to really get into the Pokemon deep lore, there is no hybrid. People are Pokemon in the Pokemon world, okay? That's just it. They are like a subtype of Pokemon. Anyway, that's all I got to say about that. Leave
Okay,
Typhlosion alone, okay?
that just got me though. I'm like I'm shooketh because I hadn't thought about that before, but it only makes sense.
Yeah. Like the Canalave library that like from Gen 4, yeah, was still the biggest lore dump of all time, and it pretty much already said everything we learned. That like Pokemon and people were the same at one point in time, which anyway,
It means fusion and Gen 10 is what you're saying.
yeah, Fusion and Gen 10, right.
Let's
If we didn't
go.
have Megas, I was kind of hoping for Fusion.
I don't know. I don't know.
Mega Fusion. But yeah, that's all like conjecture. It's fun stuff to think about, and I love the memes, like to be honest. The only thing like I'm worried about is like I bought like this Typhlosion shirt that I before this controversy happened. I wore it at the last regional, and now I'm going to Sacramento, and I'm like, I don't know if I'm bringing the Typhlosion shirt this time.
I'm
Bro's caught you in
sorry.
4K with the Typhlosion cert now. That's it. Allegations done.
It's done. I'm sorry.
But otherwise, really, that there's not a whole lot of news. I mean, I think we're getting a Pokemon Presents soon, so that will be news. But
Did you want to go
otherwise,
over a little bit, not too in depth, you want to go a little bit over sort of the results from the previous regionals?
yeah,
Sneasler's like,
I'd love
yeah,
to.
I was on that Sneasler train for a while. I told people, like, look, this is going to be a good Pokemon.
Right.
People just aren't using it right. And sure enough, it hit like 50% usage, which is absolutely
Insane.
People
crazy.
don't realize how big of a deal it is when speed tiers change because 120 is now a big deal.
Mm.
Anything over 100 is a big deal.
Yeah.
I'll tell you
W
what, Sneasler on the rise. My boy Golden goes eating.
yeah, I bet. Like, I'm surprised there's not more Golden Goes picking up for that reason. I've
Golden
been
Go
trying the
isn't that easy
weirdest
to pilot.
things.
Golden Go, you'll always find, though, it doesn't get huge amounts of usage. It'll always be somewhere in the top cut, somewhere in top eight. It's a very I'm trying to find the word. Probably skill gap is probably the best word for it. It's very much a skill gap Pokemon. Like
Mm.
it will. It's very very good in the right hands, but it's not necessarily the most easy and conducive to use in most environments.
I do agree. I think there is something of a skill level for Golden going. I don't know. Like, obviously, you can click specs and just click buttons, but you're not necessarily going to win just by that. And if you really get caught with your pants down by like a tailwind specs Goldango, like you didn't build right, uh, and it's always going to be a good mon. It's Ghost with a spread move and that ability.
Insane.
But yeah, so Baltimore, Dortmund, Joinville, that one only had 111 people. Otherwise, we got Louisville and Lille just happened. Um, Lille had Sandwin, which is cool. And
Lil
notably,
had like all four weathers in top eight, I think.
oh yeah, wow. Yeah, there's second place with Snow. We got that Trick Room Sun team with the Executor that also did well in Louisville and seventh.
That's another type of team that constantly pops up as well. That trick room mode, like you have to have answers into something like that because, again, it's not necessarily the most popular archetype, but if you recall, that's also the similar kind of team that won our 400 plus player tournament as well. They always tend to pop up again in the right sort of hands.
Right. It is always good, it seems. You can't like not prep for this trick room team. And apparently Executor is standard now. I love
Well, a lot
seeing
of
it
people forget,
Gen
like
1.
Executor is like a little bit of a meme, but it's also very, very strong on the special attack side. Like in this format, it's 125 special attack with access to expanding force.
Right.
Like, which obviously
Chlorophyll.
is super effective into, you've either got chlorophyll if you want to go the fast mode, you've got harvest if you want to make a sort of bulkier offense mode in trick room, you've got expanding force, which is super effective into Sneasler, obviously. 125 special attack in this kind of format is no joke
Yeah.
compared to what's available.
Don't mess with Eggy.
Don't
Yeah, and
do
like what is it, 50 or 55 base speed is a lot in chlorophyll. I think you can outspeed the Sneaslers, and that's what matters. And
It's right
that's
at that sort of weird speed tier where it can technically work in both, just about.
right. I just love to see a Gen 1 Mon come back into the usage for some reason.
Yeah, I
So
love how
dope.
people talk about like Magmar balance as though it's like a normal thing, and I'm just here like, what? It's like Gen 1 Pokemon, what's happening?
Yeah, Magmar just won as well,
Yeah.
along with notably Indeedee Male, which I would be surprised if it's won a regional before. And
Reg
it
H,
was
that's what's up.
yeah, I love Reg H to be honest. Like I'm dreading the return to Reg G.
I miss Miraidon, to be honest. I'm missing
Yeah.
clicking Draco Meteor into everything and winning games that way.
He's
Scarface, if you'll go brewer. That's all I'm gonna say. I miss
I
my Ursa.
miss I miss not having to be prepared for so fucking much.
that's
That's
fair.
the hardest thing for me, honestly. Like, yeah,
So many shenanigans, so
yeah,
little
dude,
time.
totally.
You know, it's bad when I've just resorted to going back to Dondozo because I just can't take it anymore.
Sir, I don't need you in my life.
See, Dozo got ninth at
Telling
Louisville,
you, can't mess around with Dozo.
and Dozo was third place at Lille without Tatsugiri.
Yes.
Solo Dozo, baby.
I love solo
Dozo.
dozoing. It's always fun. I loved the Ting Dozo, so I'm amazed seeing it come back every time. This one was a yawn fissure set. What is happening? What? What?
Damn, we're going back all the way to like reggae here. Like people used to use Fisher all the time on like that. That was a thing. They saw it work on Ting Lu and just thought, oh, we'll use that on Dondozo now. That's cool.
Joan Garcia. This person is a madman or woman. I don't know, but
I've
geez,
played him a few times on a few different tournaments. Actually, very very good player. I beat him like once out of like 8 attempts.
I believe it. I mean, Dozo is like a Dozo counter, because it as an unaware, you're at least like wasting their time kind of with one of your mons. You just fish for fissures, I guess. They don't like being put to sleep either. And then you can coaching it, apparently. That's what he did. Coaching Sneasler is so hot right now and good.
It's fast coaching, man. It does things.
Yep. Oh man, that's a diabolical team right there. Might steal it. But yeah. Um Snow getting second place. I like seeing this Snow team where there's no other abusers. It's just Ninetales with like 4 ice moves.
Ninetales is that good on its own. Is it the one that had Aurora Veil, or is it
Yeah,
something
this
else?
one is
Yeah,
Freeze Dry, Blizzard, Aurora Veil, Icy Wind.
I think
Mm.
you'd always use Aurora Veil on something like that because obviously, again, that's just going to benefit the rest of the team. It's a very good one to play in this format, I think.
How many of you guys are chasing a Worlds invite this season?
Not me.
No.
I've played about a total 3 online tournaments probably this year because I'm too busy running them.
Right. I bet. You guys are all pretty busy. I myself, I like Worlds is like a cute idea, but I don't ever shoot for it. I just like to go to my local regionals and have a good old time, be a silly guy. But
I'm
it would
thinking
be
next
cool.
year, maybe the year after. But like I have to spend some time like getting good at this thing, you know?
Top 75 in North America is crazy work. Like,
Yeah,
that's
it's insane.
actually kind of wild. The point system just makes it really difficult now, honestly. I mean,
Yeah, I think a lot of people are just kind of taking a step back this season now
yeah.
since then. Like,
I mean, to justify spending all that money, like for example, last year I traveled to a handful of events. I still didn't get my Worlds invite, don't get me wrong, but point I'm trying to get is at least it felt like it was in reach. Like I could get there if I worked hard enough. Now it
right.
feels pretty far away. So
Because out of like the 600 or 700 people at all these tournaments, that there is about 75 people who can afford to travel to like a lot of these regionals.
exactly, and they're just stacked. There's so many good names. It's hard to
Right.
hard to keep up with. Like
Like,
top 75 is a
yeah.
very difficult achievement to reach. I think a lot of
You know,
people. I don't even mean to sound rude. I think a lot of people have like that. They think they're gonna be there, but in reality, they're like ranked, 1,000th or even
Yep.
lower. It's like that's I I respect the grind and the hustle, but you're pretty far off from there. So
I could foresee a lot of people spending a lot of money to travel this year and not making it.
exactly, that's precisely the point. And again, people say they're happy to hang out with friends, which is definitely true, but that definitely stinks to drop thousands of dollars traveling for a world's invite and to fall short. So
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's why I'm like only going to the ones that I usually can go with like my locals gang. If they're
that's the
not all
thing.
going, I'm like,
That's the
I
thing. Like,
plan, fingers crossed, on going to my first one in Birmingham, UK, in January. We're hoping at the minute. That'll be my first one if I manage to go.
that'd be awesome.
yeah. I'm gonna be trying to go to Sacramento next month. And if I do good, I do good. If I don't, I'm gonna have a good time. And that's probably gonna be the only regional for me unless they announce another one over here on the West Coast, since I think they have a couple more they're gonna be announcing.
Yeah, hopefully Orlando is one of them because that's the one I'm trying to go to if they have one this year. But again, kind of like we were saying, it's hard to justify dropping thousands of dollars on a trip to when you ain't getting into to worlds. I mean, you could call me a world's chaser or something and roast me that way. I know there's plenty of people that do that, but um,
That's fine.
with the points, at least I feel like last year I didn't get my worlds invite. That's on me. I didn't go to enough local events. I didn't do X, Y, and Z. I didn't prep enough. This year with top 75, someone goes to an extra event than me and places well enough. I'm out of I'm out of that position. Not even saying I would be top 75, but just to give you the gist for those people that sit on the borderline there. They could do everything in their ability. Their opponent that's 76th place goes to one more regional, gets points, and then jumps ahead of them. Then they're out because someone hit one more event than them.
Right.
Just real quick before we move on, like if do you guys see the old system coming back? Maybe next gen. What do you think?
Hopefully, they've done it before in the past. The system that they're doing now.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and
I
they
would
moved
hope
away from
that
it.
there's been. I would hope there's enough complaints about it that they change their mind on this. Because obviously we saw a huge amount of complaints. It's why myself and others like Smoke and everyone else have been working on things in the background to sort of try and mitigate things sort of
Yeah.
online. But even then, it's people were pissed about that, like really pissed, and I can completely understand it because especially it's not even just money. Like people like ourselves, like most of us here are sort of on the older age bracket. Like we've all got jobs, kids, most of us, responsibilities. I personally work like 50, 60 hours a week. There's only so much time in the week. And, it's just one of them things. Unfortunately, it feels sometimes like a younger sort of man's game, really, in that sense.
Yeah, no, for
Yeah.
sure.
Totally.
I mean, even Ash is retired.
I
And
feel like as we get older, it's more so to go see your friends.
Yeah,
And then the
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like
help
how you're
maintain the
escaping.
relationships. Yeah, exactly. Escape. It's a vacation at this point. It's not so
Like,
much for the
yeah.
top cut. If you top cut, cool, but like I want to see my friends across the country. I want to go drinking with them or have dinner with them or
Oh yeah.
what we do after hours and that's cool. If I win, cool. If I don't, cool. But as someone with a kid, yeah, doing like I saw somebody ran the numbers and it was like four regionals, one IC. And it's like, brother, whoever can afford that, Godspeed to them. I'll hopefully see you in Orlando, and that's it.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yeah.
I mean, you could potentially do regionals for cheap, but you got to really, then it's not even enjoyable at that point. You know what I mean? You're staying at a really crappy place, not really eating well, probably. Which again, isn't always the best thing for when you're trying to do well at a tournament or just have a good time. But yeah, no, for example, each one of my regionals was like, depending on how far it was, it could range anywhere from like $700 to $1,000 for the trip altogether, like round, including like a little extra spending money and stuff like that. So I guess if you budget it right, it could be a little bit more affordable. But at the end of the day, a lot of people don't even have an extra $100, to spend on a trip. So it's
I
unfortunate.
For Sacramento, I'm literally sharing an Airbnb with two beds. Oh no, not an Airbnb this time. It's a hotel, but it's like we got 10 dudes going and six beds. Like so so it's affordable for everybody.
Yeah, exactly. It's, which Airbnb is nice for that for sure. That definitely saved me a lot of money going to regionals last year. But yeah, and to go on that, I would, love to hit at least one regional this year just to see everyone and, like Kaysie said, maintain those relationships, see my friends. But it's also hard to then say like, okay, I'm going to go to like 5 or 6 regionals this year, which is what I did last year.
Yeah.
But when there's no worlds invite considered in that, and then work really does start to take up a lot more of your time as we get older. Definitely tough to justify that stuff.
It
Speaking
brings
of
it all
like
back.
relationships and work and things like that, I wanted to sort of move it a little bit on to sort of main topic of today. I'll obviously want to
I was gonna say the
run
same
that back
thing.
a little bit to that a little bit, but you're probably all wondering. Obviously, the viewers already know Spicer very well. They know myself in part from I've only done the odd one voice podcast here, but they already know me as the tournament organizer. You're probably all wondering why Smoke, Leroy, and Loot are here. Obviously, they're their own sort of respective tournament organizations, and basically, those three guys form part of our partner network here at the VGC Trainer School. And so part of that idea was to try and bring everyone together in sort of like a community network type space where we sort of run things between ourselves, charity based events and fundraising and things like that. So I wanted to sort of move a little bit on to like how we all sort of like got here and the origins of sort of VGC for ourselves. So like how we all got into VGC and then sort of how we all know each other from there basically. So I'll start that off with Smoke because that's the one I've been sort of working with more closely with other things. How did you initially get into VGC and what sort of brought you and kept you into the space?
Yeah. So I took a break. I started playing Pokemon during like the Diamond and Pearl era, maybe a little bit earlier than that. Memory from childhood could be a bit hazy, but it's been a long time. I stopped playing after Pokemon Platinum had come out. Picked up the game in Sword and Shield. I was really into the online ladder. That was my first time ever, playing competitive Pokemon VGC events. It was the single battles actually, so I guess not even technically real VGC at that point. However, once Scarlet and Violet came out, I figured that I really love Pokemon again. I might as well kind of pick up this hobby a bit more. And I looked up, in-person events like regional events and whatnot. And one popped up in Orlando, which is not far from me at all. I decided that I think it was only maybe a month away at that point. I was like, all right, I'm buying a ticket, I'm going to the regional, I'm just going to play, it doesn't matter how I do. um, Went to Orlando, didn't do too great obviously with it being my first event. But I was happy to at least go, at least get 3 wins that day. um, Met some people that introduced me into the kind of the tournament hosting scene and whatnot. My buddy Logan from VGC Kingdom showed me Limitless, how to host tournaments on there and whatnot. So from there, we just kind of grew and evolved, started hosting weekly tournaments, and started 1.5 years ago, and now we're in the present day. We have over 1,300 members in our Discord. Our tournaments, range at about close to 100. Sometimes, definitely below. Sometimes over. It really just depends on the week. But it's been a really awesome journey, starting from literally nothing until now, where does feel like we've really made it in the scene, and we're just really happy and honored to host events for everybody.
So, a lot of the theme surrounding sort of today's podcast was, around sort of men's mental health and physical health, and specifically relating to VGC and outside of it. And that's where we sort of come on to yourself, Leroy, obviously running the PokéMen's Health, both the podcast and the tours that coincide with the Chaos League. If you want to first of all sort of run through like how you first of all got into VGC, and then everything regarding the men's physical and mental health from there. How did you initially get into it there?
Yeah, I started trying to take VGC competitively almost a year and a half ago. I started going to my locals, so it's like February 23, something along those lines. And it really started it kind of from a men's health perspective, honestly, like me wanting to just have some more joy in my life. And I had been doing all this like personal growth work, like I kind of mentioned earlier and the question was, and I really invite everyone to ask themselves this, like, what would my inner child like to be doing, and I think a lot of us may be getting some of that, right? We're already playing Pokemon at this point, but me, back when I played the game, played the main series game, and I put it down. Scarlet Violet definitely caught my attention, like it did many others' attention. I think the big influx of new competitive players started because of the accessibility in Scarlet Violet, and I was just kind of one of those. Hopped into the locals, and that season ended. I decided I wanted to really grind in late 23 24, and I've just kind of been doing it since. And along the way, the PokéMen's Health podcast idea, which just kind of came along, and was again a means to connect with the community in a way that it didn't seem like people were connecting. Most Pokemon podcasts are just strictly about Pokemon, or about whatever game that they're talking about, and about getting better at those games. And I just saw an opportunity to say, hey, let's get to know each other a little bit differently within this community. And it's been really cool. It's been really nice. And it is, podcast is just one piece of that. Now we've been doing the Fight for Men's Health as our third time around, and we love to attach a concept that I think men would benefit from thinking about. And as mentioned earlier, we did fatherhood just because it's something I thought about with Kaysie and him starting his journey. And this current one that's coming up is to benefit the Palestinian Children's Fund, as I see that there is a lot of people being taken away from their fathers in unfair ways. And me, even personally, and I know it may resonate with a lot of folks. I know Kaysie personally, just not having that father around and the impact it has on your life. That you need some help, and the Palestinian children really need a lot of help right now. So I thought that would be a great cause to attach to this tournament.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Wow.
I think we wanted to talk a bit about just the general ideas around what VGC players can kind of think about in terms of their mental health, how to take care of their mental in this game too. And I I think we've all been there, where we're at a tour, or just shit, we could just be playing ladder and we lose our shit because of whatever happens. Would you guys
Five
think
losses
about that?
and your phone's about to go halfway across the room. Yeah, I think we've all been there, haven't we?
Yes, absolutely. And I think it's this game, Yeah, I think that it's okay to get upset about the game and when things aren't going your way, because obviously if we are, a lot of us, whether we're going to regionals or just playing on ladder, like we invest, time and effort and things to be good at this game. And if it ain't going your way, yeah, we get mad about it. But the punching of the walls, throwing of the controllers, if you're at a tournament, like being an asshole to your opponent or people around you, because
Not the right way.
yeah, it's not the right way. It's
Yeah,
like
we've all very much dealt with our fair share of that. I think definitely Luke can sort of aspire to that one when it comes to how many people we've had to deal with in his own tours and things like that. Definitely, and I probably understand that a lot of people in the community are sort of of the younger age band, and I think this is where physical and mental health comes more into it, because it is one of those things that I don't see, even in the coaching aspect, I don't see it talked much about. Like, you can be sort of like, even from just a skill point of view, you can be the best player there is out there, that ever is or was. If your mental health, even if your mental headspace or even just your physical health isn't there, in my opinion, I don't believe you're going to achieve everything that you want to set out to do. And I think that's where it comes most in sort of any sport, really, even any physical sport. When it comes to NFL, football, golf, tennis, anything else, really, it sort of comes into any sort of physical sport, and games are no exception when it comes to that. And people might not think that physical health comes into it. I think having a good physical health as well clears your mindset in terms of how you approach things, both in life and in general through VGC, I'd say.
absolutely.
Absolutely. I think all men need a physical outlet. Like it's good
Agreed.
it's good for our mental and good for our health. You go to the gym, do a sport, like do something, but like you're gonna feel a lot better. Go run.
Totally.
Touch
The
that grass. There's literally they say that like literally touching the grass with your skin, like they think balances your electrical charge, which has health benefits, which is like some crazy thing I just recently learned. Helps
yeah.
inflammation, you sleep, reduce stress. Like touching grass is real, guys.
It's so real. And I think like, there's like those literal like chemical like things, chemical benefits like endorphins from moving your body, the happy chemicals at that really. And I'm just as someone who's focused on mental health and like the human condition for a lot of my life at this point, just like see that a lot of people in our community, they're going through some stuff, not just the men, like going through some stuff. And it's like if you can handle anything by yourself, like before like going for like any professional assistance to deal with your stuff, like getting those happy chemicals flowing through your body is definitely one of those things. If you got anger and it's pent up and you ain't doing shit, you're just like going through the world being an asshole, like that's not going to be the most beneficial. But you go take a boxing class or something like that, you get that anger out on a regular basis in a healthy way where you're not actually harming any human with that anger. You're less likely to do that stuff. We see anger explosively come out in so many ways, and it can be dangerous, but it can also be really healthy if you're putting it in the right places. So that is huge. This is such a cerebral game, and the more clarity that you can create for yourself, it like you may not think your therapy session is going to make you a better VGC player, like just looking at it on paper, but it absolutely is. You may not think kicking your own ass in the gym is going to make you a better VGC player, but it absolutely can. You may not think talking to, your boys about the argument that you had with your girlfriend or something is going to really affect your gameplay, but it absolutely will. I think the more we can focus on having a clear mind, a clear heart, and it doesn't have to be perfectly clear, but not just letting all the stuff stay jumbled inside of you. It goes so far, I think. So far.
The worst
And
thing you can do as a man is like keep things to yourself when it comes to we need a tribe of people like-minded around us that we can share these things with and coincide with to sort of future develop ourselves and others, I'd say, definitely.
Totally. And I feel like I see like there's it's this Pokemon, it's about the friends you made along the way. I see people's friendships being really important to them in this game, and are we using those friendships only for the sake of becoming a better player. Of course, we hang out, we get the drinks and all the stuff, have a good time. Are we only doing it to have a good time, or are we like really using our friendships for everything we can use it for, and to have the support of your friends when you are really going through it is everything. So really, like, second that encouragement from AOX to not hold it in. Like, we got all these friends. You talk about spreads and shit. You can talk about like what's going on in the day to day too. Like, there's no rules against it, and I think it's how you really take the friendships and things we get from this to the next level.
Yeah, and I think as men, in some ways, we've been taught to like keep our emotions to ourselves, and that's like the men portion of the men's health thing going on is that like a lot of people aren't used to having an outlet to speak emotionally because there are circles of men, who feel like, oh, like you're speaking, talk about emotions, or you like,
EU.
yeah, like you're making me uncomfortable with your feelings.
Beer
And it's like
man,
Totally.
a lot of
beer
groups of like
man.
women are very comfortable talking about their, feelings, what they're going through, what they're happening in their relationship, and that's great. It's just rarer in men's circles, I think.
I don't think
So,
it's even. I think even some part of it. I don't think even some part of it is necessarily just being uncomfortable. I think it's actually. I think a lot of men simply just struggle to verbalize it in a way
Hmm.
that sort of conveys fully what they're thinking. And
Totally.
myself personally, with autism and everything else, I've struggled for years when it comes to actually being able to verbalize things properly, being able to speak in front of people, being able to be confident and everything else. That's something that I struggled with for many years during my school years and everything else, and it's sort of taught me a lot about how I run things, and it's taken me years to sort of learn how to be able to speak in front of people, how to be confident, how to verbalize things. And I think a lot of men that even aren't necessarily on that side do struggle to verbalize it. So I think being uncomfortable is one part. I just think a
Yeah.
lot of men just can't verbalize it as well, I'd say.
Yeah.
absolutely.
And I'd say to those guys, like, don't feel like you gotta come at this perfectly. Don't feel like you have to say it 100% right. Do your best, and like, hopefully you're chatting with a person you trust, and that person who you trust is not going to take you the wrong way. They're maybe not to take you anyway. The important part is that they're there and they're listening, and they're being there for you. you know and if you got that relationship with the person, and if you're someone who's like, this is not a muscle you've built, right, you're sharing muscle. um just know that, with, like, in all, we're talking about the physical health too, when all working out and all developing a muscle, it hurts a little bit at first, it's uncomfortable at first, can be a little scary, you can feel like you ain't doing it right, and it's fine, you're doing it right. Take that opportunity to do it. And this also brings up to me, like, the fact that not everyone does have a circle. Not everyone does have, like, there might be folks who are listening to this podcast, I'm not sure, that don't have any, like, friends they're like doing Pokemon with. They watch the YouTube to get their spreads, they go to the tournament by themselves, they get the fuck out of there, you know what I mean? And I started to get, like, okay at this game when I started to make more friends, utilize those friends, and let more people in. So I definitely think there's a lot to be said. And men, like, isolate like
Yeah.
crazy. Men like to do the lone wolf thing, I have no illusions that that's not something that's happening with guys in our community. And like, so many benefits, like, missing so much if you're doing this by yourself. I think that it's something that we should really, make part of joining the Pokemon communities, to actually join it, not to just come and play, but to, like, get in there.
Yeah, and I
I
encourage
think we
you.
all do a lot as community organizers and sort of community champions to like make sure that no one's left behind in that regard. Definitely, at least on our side, and I'm sure any other VGC sort of server would remain the same in that regard. We're all approachable individuals and want people to make sure they're not being left out. Basically,
Yeah,
Totally.
like if you see me at Sacramento, like please say hi. I would love to like hang out. We can continue to talk online. There's always like more to gain by communicating with more people in Pokemon. It is an information game. I'm gonna be the guy with probably a VGC trainer school shirt on, curly long hair, just like say what's up. I'll be your friend. And like don't be afraid to make friends. A lot of us here are like here for that. This is our escape.
Oh, yeah.
There's a lot to talk about.
Hell yeah. And another thing doing for the community currently with more opportunities coming in the future, but the week after next, so November 3rd, I believe the date is going to actually be the next PokéMen Circle, which is a free opportunity to just come into the PokéMen's Health Discord. There will be the PokéMen's Health circle, so the PokéMen Circle voice chat that you can just hop in. I'll be there. Maybe some other guys will be there. And you just come and share like what's going on with you. We'll hop on for about an hour or so. You can just come and say nothing and fear no judgment and get what you got to get off your chest. So just an opportunity for folks, whether they have their circle or not. Maybe you don't have the relationship with your the Pokemon friends that you have. Maybe you don't have any Pokemon friends, and you can come in and know like, hey, we're Pokemon people, and we're not necessarily here to talk Pokemon, but we're here to talk about you. What's going on with you. Is work going hard? Is relationships hard? Like, are you depressed? Are you anxious? Like, do you just need somebody to talk to that day so you get through that day? Like, that is the goal of the PokéMen Circle, and it's something that will be happening monthly going forward in the PokéMen's Health Discord. So if that's something that's interesting to you, make sure you hop in.
Love you for that. I'll have a link to that in the notes for this episode.
Thank you so much.
Kaysie, what's been going on in terms of yourself then? So obviously, Loot Kaysie, however you want to be
I
referred
mean, I'm
to.
the new kid on the block, we're even as we speak right now, still finishing up our Sunday Slam as of us recording, of course. My VGC career started before Worlds 23. I'm going to say the Monday after Orlando, right? Because my luck was Googling everything and realizing, oh snap, Orlando Regionals. Oh, that was this weekend. So yeah, my luck with starting VGC was finding Orlando the day after Orlando, uh, and realizing that I now had a long struggle ahead because we were still coming out of COVID at the time. Which then Orlando's first MSS came up, and I finally decided it was my time to get out there and maybe start hanging out with some like-minded individuals, Pokemon-esque individuals. And that was for Regulation C. So through all that, I started listening to the podcasts, all different kinds. Had to figure out how the heck I was going to get any better at Pokemon. Found you guys, looked up to you guys, found Pokesports, looked up to Pokesports. Found the league that I'm currently running with, which would be the Chaos League. Shout out to Eric, shout out to Luke, shout out to everybody who helps me behind the scenes keep this beast going and who grew this beast before I could ever set foot in it. And while it was a very Facebook heavy league, we decided that it was time to take that next step forward, as Limitless is something that really benefits the community and players out there, because there's a lot of us who don't get to go and regional 4 times plus a year and an IC or two. We're lucky to get that one in, and it helps with at least some quality of play. So we're only 6 months into this, but back in March we decided that it was time to enter a new space and start bringing in more people, and that's where we launched the Discord and started the Limitless stuff. Of course, we're not as big as you guys. We average 25 to 50 players, unless we're talking a fight for men's health, which we get the 100 plus. So we're blessed to definitely get that once a month. We're hoping to see some more regular action as we leave Gen 9 behind and start into hopefully Gen 10 this next year. Come on, Pokemon Presents. Some Legends ZA would be cool. We'd love to do some stuff themed that.
Imagine if it had online. Like,
it
I would
give
love
me
it.
Mega
Oh,
Evolution
that would
just
be
soon.
something.
Yeah, man. So that was just it, right? Like, as a kid, So obviously I played red, blue, and yellow as a kid. My first game was Crystal, that I owned with the purple clear Game Boy. But what brought me back into Pokemon was X and Y. Right after high school, we were all sitting around playing Magic, and a buddy of mine brought it over, and it was 3D Pokemon, which was mind blowing, and Mega Evolutions, which was our first gimmick ever, other than just fight Pokemon. And I think that Mega Evolutions was what made me fall in love with the game again. So to
I
see that
completely
coming back,
forgot. I completely forgot that we had just quickly. I completely forgot that we had Pokemon in 3D with the X and Y. I completely forgot that until now. But I remember
yeah.
people been talking about that ages ago when it was sort of out, and that was crazy at the time for what it was.
Yeah.
So like Mega Evolutions, come on, man. I get it. Maybe we'll get Mega and Terra or something, because Terra is really a good mechanic. I think I personally like it more than Z moves and Gigantamax.
Yeah, me too.
Terror is like
It
one of
it
the most
feels
balanced
better,
mechanics that there is, I'd say.
right? It
Yeah.
feels better to play. So like maybe they've tied Mega Evolutions into other things. We had Z moves and Megas, so like why can't we get Megas and Terra? I think that would be a lot of fun.
Yeah, I feel like they wouldn't do both, but I would be super open to that too. I would love that.
I mean, it is Gen 10, the Big 10. They could just give us it all.
Imagine they bring back Z moves too.
Everything that would be so cancerous. Sorry.
Oh God, I just don't want D-Max coming back. Just everything but D-Max. Nah, actually, I don't want that at all.
Zenmu, Terra Ghost, Specs, Astral Barrage from Calyrex.
Oh my God.
I
Z
just thought of that. Instant
Gross.
death.
Actually, that's terrible. Let's just have Terra or Mega.
Yeah, please. For his own sanities. I'll just very briefly go over mine because I think anyone that's familiar with the VGC trainer school is going to be aware of who I am. But basically, my personal VGC story sort of started in 2020 during the pandemic, and I think that's actually familiar for a lot of people. With that, we're sort of looking for things to do because we were kind of like bored and trying to work out what to do. I'd liked Pokemon for a while. I played the Pokemon games since I've collected the cards since like 1999. That shows how old I am, by the way. So I sort of collected things from there, and then I got into sort of VGC around 2020. Started learning bits and pieces. I didn't really have a specific community I was a part of at that point. I then joined the VGC trainer school. I don't know what year and what month. I'm not entirely sure. It was close to when this server started. I'm sure. I'm not too sure on that. But then in terms of like running tournaments and like things like that, it basically sort of started around February, March last year. There was no one really specifically running them, and it was sort of swapped and chopped between the admins available that was running them. I threw my hat into the ring in terms of running them to see what I could do to benefit the wider community. And then things kind of took off from there. We'd grown exponentially from a server that was, I think, at that point, like 500 people to now 2,500 people. We've hosted like a Wolf Glick twice, various big VGC names in the prize pool tournaments and various things like that. And it's fantastic to see that go from strength to strength. So, yeah, hopefully things continue in the next year and on to Generation 10 from there.
You know, you've been an essential part of this community. We wouldn't even like be here now where we are without you.
Well, I like to think of it as a team effort. We've
Oh,
all
absolutely.
got our roles to play. Shout out in particular to Mike Titanic,
Heck yeah.
who's sort of like the treasurer of things regarding the financial bit and obviously arranging some of the merch and things like that. And then you've got, yourselves as the key admins as part of, running things and the workshops and everything else and, keeping everything running smoothly. So it's been a massive team effort and it's great to see things finally pay off, I'd say.
Well, I might just cut this because I feel like people have heard it from me plenty of times, but I'll say it anyway. I got into VGC during the beginning of Sword and Shield. I have always been a singles player since before that, but I dropped singles cold turkey because I realized VGC is so much more fun. And just like the whole circuit aspect, meeting people, I always played like singles. I've always played singles. I never really stopped like since Gen 1. Like even when it was like in high school and it wasn't like cool at the time, I was like, I'm still gonna play. Fuck y'all. But like I was always like the singles player, and now VGC has just been like such a fun part of my life, and it's still, even when I'm very busy with work and life, I always have time where I need to just sit down and like I need to do some laddering because my brain is just has that needs that space. I've always had it since I was a kid. I'm like I need to try to like beat the meta, do something. And it's my outlet. It's my mental health space, my escape. It gives me something to think about besides like the hardships of life. And I appreciate everybody I've met through this game. Just want to say like thanks for having, thanks for coming. Thanks for doing this.
Of course. Thank you so much for having me. Like for real, you guys are one of the first podcasts that I listened to and was inspired by just seeing how you guys are out here trying to create information and opportunities for people to grow more within VGC. So it's been an absolute honor, absolute pleasure to be here with you guys. Thank you so much for welcoming me into your section of the community, and I look forward to hopping on again. And AOX is going to be on PokéMen's Health coming up here, and I'm really excited for that. So excited to chat with everybody again soon, and I'll catch you guys.
All right.
Yeah, see you later. Yeah, keep an eye out for that. By the way, there may or may not be a one-on-one episode with PokéMen's Health coming soon with myself. But yeah, enough about
Okay.
me.
All right. Well, I appreciate, you sharing your story, everybody sharing their stories, and everybody coming on here today to talk about men's health.
Yeah, it's been awesome to finally come back.
It's been fun getting to be on a podcast that I've looked up to for so long. Who'd have thought that I'd be sharing an episode with you guys a year and a half later?
Oh.
Yeah, let the growth continue.
Yeah, likewise, bro. Lovely to meet you and have you. Heck yeah. Well, I think that about wraps it up today, guys. Y'all have a great evening. Or I have no idea what time it is there.
It's 1
It
o'clock
is
in the
8
morning.
o'clock. I'm gonna go throw my dinner in a microwave and chow down.
1 in the morning over here. I need to
Good
sleep.
night. And yeah, class dismissed.